My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is sacred union. I consider myself to be quite the romantic type of person. I love one of my favorite stories my mom told me is that my dad would write little love notes. My mom, her birth name was Barbara. She changed her name to Jana after he died, so we all knew her as Jana. And he would write, dear Barbie, and write her a little love letter, and he would put little love notes around the house, and she would write little love notes and put them in his lunch. And I think that's like adorable. That's like overwhelmingly adorable to me. I am, to each their own. There's no shame in anyone's game. Each person gets to choose with their free will that which serves them. For me, I'm a very monogamous, it's what I call long-termler. I'm a long-termler. I seek a single relationship until I die. Definitely not what I've experienced. Has been what I've been seeking, but definitely not what I've experienced. And that is because my vision for romance is a sacred union. And in order for me to have a sacred union, I do not need to be with somebody that is exactly like me. I actually seek some divergence because that's going to evolve me. It's going to cause me to grow. However, I have learned in my nearly 50 years now that I do seek a partner that is spiritual. I'm deeply spiritual. My life is devoted to spirit. I actually surrender myself on a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level to spirit for the light of truth and the light of love to speak through me every day. And I am in awe of the hilarity of spirit and the nuggets that come through. And that's a sacred union in and of itself, my willingness to be in constant partnership with spirit instead of letting my ego lead my ship. And it requires focus and concentration and work on my part, but it becomes a more habituated art the more I turn myself over to that sacred union with spirit. And when it comes to the idea of a romantic partnership, there are aspects that are core values in what we seek, So I've spent a lot of time in this life with atheists just thinking like, well, they don't have to be like me, but ultimately, if I'm with an atheist and they're my partner and someone dies, they have nothing to say to me. They can give me science and they can say energy cannot be created nor destroyed, and that is a pleasant thought, and I like that thought. It's helped me with death. But there's nothing they're going to be able to say to redirect me to spirit. Doesn't mean that my lover needs to be the person to redirect me to spirit when someone dies, but there's just a way in which when we do have some similarities, when we have similar vision, then our physical vessels, our fast-moving train called a lifetime in the body, then it can move, then we can go in the same direction. Let's both go forth in this direction together instead of trying to go in divergent paths and divergent ways. We have a similar aim. And so it's taken me a long time to teach myself and give myself permission that okay, I can have all the atheist and agnostic friends in the world. That's fine. I don't need you to have this piece to be my friend. And I have a lot of atheist and agnostic friends, but it's not the right lover for me just because of my focus around spirit and that's the conversation I want to have. I want to talk about the gods, the goddesses, divinity, spirituality, all philosophies. Why do we relate to God the way we do, to goddess the way we do, to spirit the way we do, to divinity, to the Trinity, to the singularity? I want to talk about this. I want to talk about psychology. I want to talk about, So it becomes a matter of where we want to focus our attention in a lifetime. And I enjoy my own company and love being with me and love all the things I have to study and love the human I've chosen to be and what I choose to focus on. And so if I'm going to choose a lover and a partner in my life, it helps to have this similar vision. So one component of sacred union is having similar visions. Are you headed in the same direction? Do you seek the same things? If you are not an addict and you are with an addict, how is your relationship going with alcohol or drugs or whatever it is that they're using in extremes? I found that humans are pretty influential creatures. So there can be a beneficence to being with someone who has a similar aim. I found throughout my life, I have had periods where I was extremely disciplined at the School of Metaphysics. I was doing raw vegan twice a week. I was doing Yogananda's life force exercises and many of his teachings and trainings, and then got into a relationship and I was completely sober. I was, all of these things. And the next thing I know, I'm like drinking alcohol all the time. And I was eating smoked cheeses and meats because I wound up dating a German man and I just mutated into his field. So the first part that I'm speaking to is having similar visions, making sure your train is going to the same destination. But there's a second thread in there, a second piece in there around just wanting to be certain that you are receiving someone that elevates you towards your aim. Sometimes it's like on a scale of existence, we don't have to judge it. We could do it horizontally. We don't have to do it vertically. But if someone is being an extreme addict and you're working on being more sober, then dating an addict might not be the most conducive thing towards you taking these steps towards sobriety, And dating can be very mesmerizing for the single person often. So there's that. The main piece that I wanted to talk about with Sacred Union has to do with the self. And for me, I've talked about my loyalty and my devotion, and yet there have been many relationships I've stepped away from in this life. And it's like, well, that doesn't sound very loyal and devoted. But it would be important to not assume that my loyalty and devotion does not include the self, because it does. It absolutely does. And I've experienced so many that in order for me to partner with them, what they want is for me to agree to emotional abuse, verbal abuse, being talked down to. They are somebody that has a very negativistic perspective. They are a complainer. They're a negative Nancy. They're a Debbie Downer, if you've ever watched Saturday Night Live. And they are not taking responsibility for their negative consciousness and awareness. And so they want to point to the negative, and they want me to get on their page to assist with the cleanup of the negative. And in order for me to get on your page, I would need to point to the fact that you have unlimited creative ability and you've chosen to focus negatively. So in order for us to have less cleanup work to do, you would need to redirect your attention to positivity and to that which is working and that which does serve. Because when you feed those seeds, you get fruit-bearing trees in the garden of your life. So there is another piece of Sacred Union where in order for a union to be sacred, it always includes a sacredness with the self. And I've had many relationships in which I've come into union with someone and I've recognized in order for me to stay in this union, based on my character, based on me understanding my own soul growth evolution, there's what I know I don't know, and what I don't know. There's a lot of aspects to being a self, but it's like I can see very clearly, in order for me to stay with you, I would have to be in a constant hypervigilant state around not absorbing your emotional abuse or your desire to be negativistic or your desire to project your inner attack outward towards me. You're in there beating yourself up all the time. You don't even hear yourself doing it, and you just want to do that with me. Or, you want to talk about your ex all the time. I'm happy to talk about anyone's past relationships, but I'm not going to have every dinner with a lover that needs to talk about another woman, because I promise you, I'm not going to come to dinner with somebody that I'm keen on, somebody that has garnered my attention, and talk about another person every time I sit down to enjoy a meal with them, because my attention's with them. My attention is in the present. There is a need to integrate the past, but that's what therapy's for, So I don't want to be, if I'm going to be in union, I'm happy to serve and support someone's healing. But if I'm your lover, I'm not your therapist. And I can aid, but it's important for the individual to have a component of being, Heather Feather is the steward of her shadow integration, of her healing and mending whatever has felt broken in my life. I am the steward of making antidote to heal the poisons I've been asked to drink. And I can't really put that on a lover to be my medicine. Now I think there's a person in this life that eventually will be the hand I hold until the day I die. And I'm so grateful in advance for it. And what I can tell you is that is a person that I probably will serve and aid in some ways in a counseling, medicinal, supportive way, and vice versa. And I will step to them having done a lot of the work for myself, with myself, because I matter to myself. And that's the key piece I want to talk to in a sacred union. A sacred union includes the self. Anytime you're in a union, and in that union, you're asked to, well, just no, you know, if anytime I get with a partner, because I've had a lot of partners that can be really positive and really loving, but I get with them and all they can tell me is what I need to fix, what I need to correct. I know that's not about me. Do I have things I need to fix or correct? Yes, in order to fit into a utopianistic, perfectionistic world, sure. But this is Earth School. This is up, down, good, bad, right, wrong. This is dualism. And in a dualistic realm, we can judge good and bad, any given thing, or we can take a look at what's working. We can give more of that of our attention. We can grow more of that in the garden of our lives. And what isn't working, we can integrate and try to learn and understand why that pattern is there. And we can do our individual work. What I won't do in a partnership is I won't do your work for you. And as a matter of fact, I can't. I've stayed in many unions far too long because I'm a long-termer, because I'm a monogamous woman, because I'm looking for a life mate, because I'm willing to do the work, because I'm willing to invest. I've stayed in way too many partnerships for way too long with intolerable behavior because I just think, well, you know, they're going to get there at some point. They're going to realize, you know, their work. I'm working on my work. They're going to work on theirs. And the fact is, some people aren't willing to look at the self and they're not ready to do their work. And I can sit and watch somebody not do their work, or I can go focus on my work and not be distracted by somebody that's not doing their work and is busy talking about what I need to do. Trust, I've got a list. I always have a list. I'm very aware of what I need to do. I'm very aware. I'm happy to receive your suggestions. But if you have much more attention on me and how I need to change, which you're not a steward of, and you don't have any attention on you and what you need to change, and you don't have any conversation you're having with me around you and your growth and your evolution, I'm in the wrong room. I'm in the wrong room. Can somebody get me out of here? Oh, yeah, that's me. So for me, a sacred union includes self-love because a union is two. And what I will not do is be in a union where I need to delete one of the people and then pretend like the other one is the sun that gets all the attention and all the healing and all the... No, I'm not going to do that. If we can't include both parties being a part of the conversation, then it's not a union and it's certainly not sacred. And there is another piece in which I can still have compassion. I don't have to get judgmental. I don't have to attack. I don't have to criticize. I don't have to make fun of them. They may even, I might step out of the partnership and they might be like, wow, she's such a jerk. And I don't even have to change their judgments or assessment of what I am because of how much I value both parties in a union. That's fine. That's fine if you need to judge me. If you need me to be the bad guy, I get it. You feel like you're the bad guy, and what the ego denies, it projects. So you made me the bad guy in the relationship, and now that we're out of it, you still need a bad guy. And that's fine. I can be that because we know fundamentally I simply am. I am. I'm not good or bad. I am. And you're welcome to judge it. And I wouldn't take that freedom away from you. I'm glad you're free. The final component of sacred union I want to say is around the piece of being a long-termer or a monogamous person. I've talked to a lot of people that have struggled with, they say they're monogamous or they want to be monogamous, but you know, they keep thinking about how the grass is greener around that next bend, that next person. And so this invocation is an active practice, and it's one I've practiced for many years, and it's become the matrix of my being. I recommend, if you're going to be in a sacred union with a partner, I recommend not using pornography, using your imagination, and using things like masturbation, which is a very healthy thing to do, to only think of your beloved or think of you. How sacred is a union in which all of your sexual energy, all of your sexual attention pours forth to the individual, and you don't allow any digression from your sexual energy, your sexual chi, your sexual attention being with them, being with you, being with them, so that truly sacred union is what's occurring on a sexual level. To each their own on all sexual practices. What I'm talking about right now is monogamy. How monogamous are you in your sacred union? You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there. Blessed be.